Welcome to another edition of Issues and Answers. I'm Ian Boyne. Minister of Justice, Honorable Delroy Chuck, is back with us. There are so many issues to talk about in this area that we had to have the Minister again. We thank you for your company. Minister, good to have you back. Thanks for being with us. So we didn't exhaust that issue we spoke about last week, the initiatives to clear up the backlog in the courts. And you had mentioned a number of them.
Well, there are huge backlogs. In fact, amazingly, in the Court of Appeal, we have a serious backlogs growing almost daily. And the reason for this is that even though in 2008, provision was made to have 12 Court of Appeal judges, we still only have 7. And the reason for that is that there's no space to put them. Fortunately, and I'm hoping that this is the definitive date, by the end of August, we're going to get the Accountant General moving out of the public buildings so that within a matter of months, it can't be more than months, we will be able to renovate the area where the Accountant General is now so that we will have enough court space to appoint at least the additional Court of Appeal judges.
Good news.
If that happens, then we can have at least 3 courts sitting each week. We will have the backlog being dramatically reduced so that in the Court of Appeal there should be no backlog. At the moment, the judges are overworking. And that is the same in the Supreme Court. We have provision for 40 judges. We have only appointed 32. We can't appoint the remaining 8 judges because there's no room. And even though we have extended over what we call Supreme Court North, which is the old NCB building, we don't want judges to share chambers. So we still only have 32 chambers. We need another 8 or more chambers. And we hope in the old Supreme Court building, that is the one that is on King Street, the main, to remove where the registry was at the moment and other areas over to Supreme Court North, and put in additional, not only courts, but also additional rooms for judges' chambers, so that the additional judges will be employed in order to make sure that more cases can be tried. But I have now before Cabinet a submission to have a change in the Constitution so that retired judges could be utilized and as needed basis. We're not going to increase the age of retirement from 70 to 75 or 80, no. What we are going to say is an addition to the Constitution that would say that retired judges could be brought on a periodic basis for weeks or months, as they know are called upon in other jurisdictions. For instance, many of our retired judges are now sitting in the Cayman Islands, the Turks and Caicos, the Bahamas, Bermuda, Belize. And we're saying, here are some of our best judges who have retired, giving their service to these other jurisdictions. Why can't we use them here? So I would like to change the Constitution, amend it a little bit, so that we can utilize these retired judges to assist us, not only in clearing the backlog, but for the future, in ensuring that cases are tried in a timely manner.
And that's before the Cabinet now?
It is now, the submission I've prepared, and it is now before Cabinet. We haven't had it. I have to tell you, there's a huge backlog of matters before Cabinet. So it is.
Well, you'll be pushing for this.
I will be pushing for that. It is in the conveyor belt. Now, in the parish courts, formerly resident magistrates courts, we only have 55 parish judges. We have a complement of 70. We need urgently to employ 15 more parish judges so that each of the parish can get an additional parish judge. Here again, it's a question of accommodation. But we have to find some way of employing them or appointing them and then using them in manners such as night court or dispute resolution or in plea bargaining, as we discussed last week, and dispute resolution, so that the sort of backlog in the courts will be addressed. But a very interesting development, Ian, is that we are going to equip all the courts, especially the main parish courts and all the Supreme Courts, with technology what we call audiovisual technology, so that everything that is said and done in the courts will be recorded. So that during a trial, a case is being heard in the parish courts and certainly in the Supreme Court, you don't have the judge will not need the judge to be taking longhand any longer. Whatever is recorded, the technology is such that immediately it can be transcribed into written print, so that at the end of the day, the transcript will be ready. So that cases can now will move more easily and flow, so that at the end of the trial, the transcript will be ready, and it can easily, if there's an appeal, it can be sent to the Court of Appeal. If in fact the judge needs time to revise and look at the transcript, it can be printed. Defense counsel will have a copy. Prosecutor will have a copy, as the case may be, or just have it on a hard disk. And what is more, we hope it can in fact be put on the internet, so that, you know, if the Chief Justice wants to watch what is happening in the parish court, he or she can look and see what is happening in the parish court.
Yeah.
It can be streamed. So that development will ensure that cases can move on a more timely basis.
Yes.
There are other factors.
Minister has so much information, several initiatives being worked on to ensure that the justice system becomes more efficient. We take a break, but we'll be right back.
Has a relative died without leaving a will and there's property or cash in his or her name? The Administrator General's Department can fairly distribute the wealth among loved ones.
We administer estates of deceased persons who die without leaving a will and leaving children under 18 years old.
Contact the AGD. They're located at the Office Center building downtown Kingston. Call them at 922-183-023, 922-070025, or at 618-1542. You I could rely on.
Minister of Justice Delroy Chuck with us on Issues and Answers. Yes, Minister, you are continuing.
Well, even with all these innovations and all these appointments and all these improvements to be made, we need, even right now, to make sure that the cases move and that files are completed. We have a major problem in that far too many police officers feel that once they've charged a man and take him to court, then that's the end of his work, or his work, the major part of his work has been done. That is not, that investigating officer and the police officers and the witnesses must cooperate to make sure that the file is completed, hopefully within weeks, certainly not longer than 3 months. But what is happening now, Ian, is that far too many cases, the files are not completed. They drag on for months, they drag on for years. And after a year or 2 years, and the parish judge or the judge says, when is this file going to be completed? And no one can answer, no one can give the judge a definitive date. What is the judge to do when the accused man or the accused man's counsel asks for bail? When you don't know when this file is going to be completed, that man is still innocent until proven guilty. In all sincerity, he might well be guilty and should not be out on the street. But in a situation where the file is not completed, what is the parish judge or the judge to do when an appeal for bail is made? So I have said, and we have said to the Commissioner of Police, we have met at National Council on Justice. One of the problems is that the files are not completed because the forensic lab, the certificates from the forensic labs have not been produced. When I checked, the forensic lab has over 1,000 certificates there. The police officers have not picked them up. And in many cases, the police officer is saying to the court, we are still awaiting the certificate. When Dr. Mowat at the forensic lab said to us at the National Council on Justice meeting, There are far too many up there, and we keep asking the police officers to come for them. Yeah. So you have at one time over 1,000. So that a lot of times when you hear that the file is not completed because you have not got the ballistic reports or the forensic report, it is up there awaiting collection. Now what the commissioner has agreed to do is to have a liaison officer in the courts, so that when the court hears that the forensic certificate is not ready, then they can check with the forensic lab to get the investigating officer to collect it and take it to court so the file can be completed. No, I do admit that sometimes the forensic lab has not really produced the certificate because for one reason or another the forensic lab is under pressure, it is under resourced, and it needs some material.
Anything going to be done about that?
Yes, in fact, only recently I pleaded with Cabinet. We want to give national security some more resources? Yes. But please make some of it go to the forensic lab, because if you do, then it would ease the burden on the court. So basically, I'm really calling on the stakeholders in the system, not only the judge, because everybody has a little blame. So the judge must really put his or her foot down as the leader in the court to say, I need this file completed, saying to the investigating officer, I need this case to be tried, especially when it passes 12 months. I mean, no accused person should be going back and forth. And by the way, it's not only the accused person, you know. The victims and the witnesses and the families of the victim, they come to court regularly trying to find out what is happening to this case. And when it goes on for longer than 12 months, the witnesses start to disappear. And after 2 years now, you can't find the witnesses. After 3 years, no witness.
The case collapses.
Absolutely. So unless a case is tried in a timely manner, then everything starts to fall apart. And my view is that unless cases are tried expeditiously, it sends the wrong signal. When they are delayed for too long, believe me, and I've said it, and I know people don't like me saying it, but delay causes further corruption and crime. Yes. When you have too many delays in the system, anywhere, it creates the atmosphere and the opportunity for corruption and even more criminality. Because what is happening, you see, Ian, when people are not getting justice in where they should, that is in the courts, they would take it up on their own hands. And they find ways of getting around the system. And that is not correct. So we in the justice system, all the stakeholders, including the minister and the Ministry of Justice, must step up to the plate and make sure that justice is delivered in a timely manner.
We'll hold you to that, Minister. Minister of Justice, Honorable Delroy Chuck, talking to us about significant initiatives under his ministry. Next week I'll be back. Until then, Ian Boyne wishing you a pleasant day.